first question was if there was an official session limit for students to use CAP services here.
At this point, we do not have an official session limit. We have moved away from that, opting more to focus on the needs of the student, and that's what will determine how long they stay in treatment.
What are some common issues in college environments that affect the student's mental health?
There are many factors that come into play. Just looking at it from the developmental perspective, we are looking at students here at the tail end of the adolescence and then into early adulthood. And this is for the traditional college age, from 18 to 22, 24, somewhere around there, that we can just see that period of time. So we're looking at people still, and if we go straight to the biological effect, we're looking at a brain just, finishing the development. And then we come in from the psychological, where the students are trying to find themselves, trying to incorporate some of the values from the parents and then reject some others, go in and sample the opinions of the peers into how they view themselves, and then kind of try them on for size. So we have a very active time, psychologically speaking. And then we're looking at the transition from high school. For example, most of these students were living at home. There was a family structure that lent itself for the student to define who he or she was, how their day went. Well, here you move into the campus, and for starters, you're having more than likely, if you're living in the residence hall, you're sharing a small space, a small room with somebody else. So you're having to go in and be able to negotiate with somebody else in close quarters what your day is going to be like, what your night is going to be like, and what kind of rules you agree on. And then you have to eat in the dining hall. You're looking at buffet 3 times a day. So all of those changes you have to incorporate is at the same time you're also having to perform academically. And the demands at Clemson University are not low. This is what we see, that the higher the demands, the more possibility for a student to then respond to that demand from whatever area they are in, whatever strengths they have, whatever weaknesses they have. So it is not uncommon for us to see an awful lot of anxiety in response to the changes that are occurring in the students' lives. On the other hand, that's also a time for the students to go in and tap on their strengths, because there are some students that have developed good skills to manage their stress and not let the stress get to the point where it's pathological and actually impacts the performance negatively.
What measures have you all as counselors taken to address the growing mental health issues of college students?
We are seeing a higher demand for our services. Students are coming in, and on the one hand, it is wonderful that the students are aware that there are services available for them. On the other hand, as they're coming in, they overwhelm the services and the resources that we have here. What we have done at CAPS is actually move towards adopting a step care approach to service delivery. And basically what it is, it's a continuum of services from the low end of the services, where that would be for the students that have less pressing issues, to the high end of the spectrum, where we have the students that are in a time of crisis. So all that continuum is where the student is entered. Where the student enters treatment in that continuum is very much dependent on the presenting need of the student. And then we have group therapy. My belief is that if a lot of the issues that the students are contending with at this age is related to how they relate to others, then what better approach to serve the students than to go in and actually have a therapeutic group in which they can actually learn to address their issues. And what I have seen is that the students move so much faster when they're in a group environment. Because on the one hand, they learn to have the attentions focus on them, but they also learn to tap on their own strengths and be of help to those that are in the group with them together. So it's a It's a really effective way of serving the student.
Thinking about the future of CAPS, especially since you mentioned that students are looking for more services and there is a higher demand, what are some ways that you see CAPS growing in the next 5 to 10 years?
This is an exciting time for college health. We are seeing emerging technologies that appear to be almost limitless. And where I see services at a counseling center is to really go in and incorporate the services to utilize these emerging technologies. For example, for right now, we have therapist-assisted online treatments, the TAO services. And what that is where the student actually gets online and actually does the therapeutic work online in a very interactive manner. They go in and take fill logs, complete logs, answer questions in a way that gives them the ability to look inward and then learn about themselves and be able to integrate their learning and be able to develop a different approach that is more effective in their work to address whatever presenting problem is coming up for them. And it's not always a problem, sometimes it's just a challenge. But if we can go in and actually learn how to view the reality and then come at it from the perspective of asking the question, what is going to be most effective to address that one issue? On the other hand, I think that there's nothing that can substitute for the one-on-one interaction. And sometimes that is exactly what needs to happen, where the students go in and actually relate to a counselor in a way that will allow them to look at themselves and really personalize the treatment.
So throughout some of our research that we've done, we saw that students of color are the least likely to seek counseling services. Is this something that you've also seen at Clemson?
We have seen an increase in students of color utilizing our services. And that has come about in response to our proactive approach to get the information out to the students. So that is done in the form of outreach presentations, class presentations when we get invited, or just taking the opportunity to speak about the services, many a time to groups of students that are minoritized. We are getting more students coming in, and one thing that I have found is that with students of color, maybe because I'm a woman of color, is that it's word of mouth a lot. You know, I went to CAPS and I saw such and such, and I had a good experience, you know, and then encourage somebody else to come.
So it seems like there's almost like a level of comfort that comes with people being able to see staff of color within CAPS.
Yes. Yes, we do have a good representation of people of color at CAPS. And even for the people that are not of color, we have a strong emphasis on multicultural training for us as clinicians. We place an emphasis of continuous training for us to develop multicultural skills more and more. And it starts with the awareness. You know, how am I perceiving myself, my own experience, and how can I understand the student that comes in with their presenting issues within their own cultural context. So for us to have the sensitivity to go in and really listen to what they are telling us, that is a real plus that we actually have, that we have taken on at CAPS as a real priority to become more and more multiculturally competent. And we will come in and address all forms of diversity, not only cultural diversity, but all forms of diversity.
Do you find challenges in the recruitment of new staff members, particularly recruiting a diverse set of counselors to assist the needs of students?
We always have problems recruiting diverse staff. I think that that's just a theme across counseling centers, where we actually want to be able to serve students by the staff that can reflect the diversity in the student body. There aren't enough providers of color, although we do go out and recruit very, very strongly, but we're competing with all other counseling centers that are also wanting to diversify their staff. So I really want to emphasize that that people have not overlooked their own personal needs when it comes to self-care and to continue to grow. So that's really what I would like to emphasize, that every student, for me, if it were up to me in an ideal world, I would want every student to be physically and psychologically healthy and move away from the stigma and the fear that may come from accessing services.